Hey everybody, welcome back to the So She Slay show. I'm Chauncey. This is Heather with our special guest, basically another contributor with So She Slays, Taye Hansberry.
Hi
We're
guys.
so excited to have you, Taye. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for
So
always coming
excited.
back.
So excited to come
And
back.
so, what are we talking about today, Heather?
We are talking about toxic masculinity traits.
Yeah.
Now, forewarning, we're not about men bashing or men hating, so that's not what this is about. I mean, everybody's going to get all up in arms over this subject, and it's not exactly, we're not men hating, okay? We're not trying
No,
to
we
any of
love
that.
good men. We know
We love
good men.
men.
We
And
love
they
them.
are
Yes.
out there.
They are.
Yes.
They
Shout
are.
out to my dad. He's a great man. So like there's great people out there.
Definitely great men out there.
Exactly. Okay, so what brought this topic to the forefront, Taye?
Well, I would say for me a while back when we were talking about it was kind of a relationship I was in and relationships in the past that I've been in, and also kind of work relationships with men as well. But I'd say as we speak today, we have a great example of what can be thought of as toxic masculinity. J.W. Lucas, he is apparently a music producer who produces a lot of black hip hop artists.
Yes.
He does really well for himself apparently, and he decided to be really toxic slash masculine to Tamika Mallory. So off of a tweet that he originally tweeted about Breonna Taylor. Two black women we don't want to mess with.
No. So let's go ahead. Okay, so I think to really drive it home, is there a way we can play a clip of what you play, Chauncey and I, of that Instagram story? Just to kind of set the tone.
Now?
Yeah.
Here,
just to kind of set the tone.
Let me find, here it is, right here. Hold on.
You have it ready to go.
What we are doing, where we need to go, what our issues are.
That is part of the gated institutional narrative. Tamika, I should be a leader in the Black Lives Matter movement because I'm more capable than you. I'm more capable.
Really?
Yes, I am.
You know what? Here's what
you don't understand the nature of reality. Tamika, do you understand cooperative and competitive game theory? Tamika, do you understand? Please answer this. Tamika, do you understand the difference?
I mean, does it get more toxic than that?
Here's my thing is, okay, you know what? You have your opinion. You have whether you think you're capable or you think she's incapable, whatever. The thing is in a conversation, you need to be able to have an effective communicator. Exactly. You know, you need to be effectively communicating with each other. When you are shouting over at each other, no one is hearing anything. That means I am not listening to you and your standpoint and respecting you in your space and your opinion, and vice versa.
Exactly. And she actually was not shouting at him. Once he said that, she's like, okay, I'm not going to argue with you. But he kept going. He wanted to keep it going. And that is so toxic.
But honestly, like what we're talking about toxic, like just because you're yelling at me doesn't mean you're making a point
at all.
Like you're not gonna like, and I know we as women yell too. Like don't be wrong, I have yelled at boyfriends, friends, parents, my sister, but you're not. And honestly, looking back, I didn't make my point across. No. And I look like a fool. But you're not going to yell at me and think it's respectful. Like let's have an honest conversation.
But I used to be very combative. And
yes,
I didn't consider it combative, but looking back, maybe I did like say stuff and yell stuff. But at the same time, once I realized that wasn't effective and I stopped doing it, I noticed that the other party involved in the dialogue still kept doing it. Even if you're not yelling, especially as a woman, anybody who has that kind of pent up toxic alpha male masculinity and wants to just like
throw it at your face,
blow it in your face. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. It doesn't matter what you're saying. It doesn't matter how calm you're saying it. They're gonna just keep spewing that toxic language, and it's basically verbal violence, in my opinion.
We've all dated, guys or been friends with people, or even in the workplace, that like they talk down to you because they think it's appropriate, like because you're not like instance like you're like. Because they feel insecurity, or they're not aware of how great you are because they're a little what you call jealous or intimidated by how great you are. But I know, like, Heather, you've dealt with it at work.
Yeah, you know, I mean, working in the entertainment industry, it's definitely male dominated. The higher you get, it's definitely white male dominated. A lot of times you walk in and you're, you know, I'm 5'1". I'm a small person. I don't think I've grown since like the 7th grade. So it's like I'm small
but mighty.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So I'm small, and I don't look my age, which is a good thing to me, but I don't look my age. But because of those two setups, a lot of times people underestimate my capability and my knowledge. And then I have to go in and, you know, I'm surrounded by a whole bunch of men who have been in this industry just as long or maybe even longer as I have. And because they look their age or, you know, are men surrounded by other men, I get this kind of like side eye, like who's this, like who are you, like who's this young person, who's this, who's that. It's either that or it's like they're trying to hit on you, and then you're just like, dude,
and then when you don't accept the forms of being hit on, then it turns to some type of rude behavior towards you, or you're not good enough, or you're not. All of that kind of like encompasses, for me, toxic masculinity. I was watching something. What was I watching recently? Something on Instagram, and it was like a couple, like a well-known couple, Black couple, and she was, you know, talking on live, and this guy, I don't know who it was, comes over and like slaps the Coke from in front of her, and it gets all over her drink.
Saw that.
Did you see that?
I saw that.
Yeah, and I was like,
yes.
And he thought that was fine.
He thought it was great.
Wasn't fine, and she was like, "Oh, you're good." She turned into, "You're not going to get sex later." But I don't want women to think, "Oh,
why should that ever be a bargaining chip?"
Ever.
Why is that a bargaining chip?
And
everybody uses it, but why is it a bargaining chip?
It can be used maybe as a bargaining chip if they didn't, like, I don't know.
There's different things.
I mean, I get it as like,
that's different.
For Valentine's Day, you don't get sex. But when someone is
forget your anniversary,
and I don't want young girls or women of all ages to think that, oh, well, he didn't hit me, he hit the soda can. The next step is hitting you.
I don't know about you guys. I have majority guy friends. I have like some girlfriends for sure, but I have I'm surrounded by men, especially at work, a good 90 to 95% of the time. And so a lot of it is the lack of immaturity and forethought that goes into things like that. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, they slap it and like it's kind of aggressive or whatever, but they're like, oh, you know, it was kidding, blah, 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 this and that. And it's like, but when you don't stop that, you don't put those boundaries in place, like then he starts to push a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then when you stop.
Remember we were told if a guy picks on you in elementary school, he likes you.
He likes you, exactly.
Yes. But honestly, him playing with my bra or pushing me on the field of PE class does not mean he likes me. He's abusive and he needs to stop that. Like, he's aggressive. So we shouldn't condone that at an early age. Like, just because, you know, Kevin pushed me, oh, he likes me. No, Kevin needs to get his ass beat because he's not going to push me.
I think, unfortunately, you know, with everything going on in the world too, it's going to be kind of hard to reverse the thinking of men who already think that way. So what we have to do is teach young girls and teach women and make sure women understand that that's not okay.
Toxic masculinity is real. Like, look at Meg Thee Stallion. She got shot in both feet, and and people are making jokes. Like, you got shot in your feet.
I was like, I'm like, yeah, it's your feet, like, but still, I mean, you got shot.
They're like, oh, well, yeah, of course that's toxic. He shot her. But I think if we scale it back to, I'm guaranteeing that person shooting someone wasn't the first sign of toxic masculinity. You know, maybe slapping a can, or maybe hitting a wall in the middle of an argument, or just temper and being able to control your temper. Especially, look, I just went through a situation where, you know, I was with someone and I think I raised my voice one time in one conversation. It's not who I am. I don't do that.
Yeah.
And so I raised my voice once, and it was out of frustration. But the rest of the time, I was very subdued, very subdued, and, you know, trying to have a conversation. And this person who I loved very much and adored, just very aggressive, very toxic masculine, like couldn't handle being confronted about anything. And by the way, confrontation doesn't always mean a woman's coming to you and screaming at you about something. It's just basically asking you a question, or why did this happen? Or if a person can't deal with that and they have to spew their toxic masculinity and belittle you, that's part of being toxic and masculine together in the workplace, in a relationship.
Yeah.
You know, making you feel less than, telling you you're less than.
So like you said, relationships, like I remember dating this guy in college. Oh, the devil. But like, I hope he watches this. But like, I just remember like when in other relationships with guys I haven't talked to, like he told me, he's like, you've never worked a day hard in your life. Mind you, I was in college. Right. I was really busting my ass in college. And he's like, right. You don't, because like I was fortunate to have, you know, my parents help me out. He's like, you've never worked a day hard in your life. And I hear guys like, oh, well, you're not really working because you're intimidated because I'm doing something that I'm really passionate about and I'm working my ass off. Right. But you are intimidated and insecure about it because you don't feel like you're up to standard. And, you know, honestly, like that's between you and the Lord, not me. Like,
right. It's definitely a form of abuse. And I think the word abuse, people like to like not say that word, or, you know, but it's abusive. It's very abusive to belittle someone and make them think try to make them think they're less than, or tell them they're not capable, or it's abusive behavior. And that goes right back to the toxic masculinity.
And do you think, so here's my question then, do you think a lot of this toxic masculinity traits come from just a lack of empathy, understanding, and respect? Like,
I believe when males are young, a lot of things they see in society, whether it be music, movies, in their home, whatever it is, things when you're a kid, you soak up what you see. But then as humans grow up, I feel like it is a lot of it is insecurity that people don't want to own up to, or own up to, and kind of acknowledge, and, you know, to want to overpower someone. And that insecurity and that domination, that wanting to dominate, does come from a type of disrespect that a man maybe innately has for women, or for a woman of color, or whoever it is that they're talking to. I believe men can also be toxically masculine with other men. You know, a lot of these like Kevin Karen videos we're seeing, you know what I mean? That's terrible toxic masculinity, you know?
Yeah, because if you think about a lot of guys, like they don't feel safe about showing their emotions or empathy with other people because they were raised to be tough. They were not raised to be like, hey, I have emotions. So I think in that sense, like you said, men do that to each other. And you'd be like, oh, like you're weak. Why are you laughing, or why are you crying at that? Like, well, shoot, The Lion King is a sad movie. I think a man should be able to cry in The Lion King. Like, it's not without looking like a weakling. Like, that would be sad. Like, and then also with women, we also, like, if we tell a guy toughen up, like, no, they should just be themselves. Like, if they like to garden or like to bake or anything like that, that's fine. Like, I've dated guys who don't watch sports, and I love watching sports. Yeah. But I'm just like, okay, you don't like it, but I love it. So I'll see you later. I'll see you after the game is over.
It's that alpha male, that idea that a man has to be an alpha male. And don't get me wrong, it's like, as a woman, you do want a man in certain capacities to, you know, be protective and be, you know, and you know, maybe it's a lot of us to be like, can you be protective but not be dominant? You know, I don't know what the answer is there, but, you know, there are certain instances where you want a guy to be like a man's man, I guess. I don't know, but there's like such a fine line there. You know what I mean?
It's a fine line. Like, you want someone to be protective, of course, but you want someone to understand your emotions and like not double down on you and like yell at you or talk over you.
Exactly. And not degrade you. You're saying you're being emotional. That is a word that's also thrown around by men. Oh, you're emotional.
This kind of makes me like think about emotional intelligence, because I talk to Chauncey about emotional intelligence so much. And I talk about it when it comes to men, and I talk about it when it comes to women. Women, we, I think, have the upper hand in this because we, not only is the word emotion used against us to a certain extent, but we are also, to a certain extent, allowed to have emotions, right? And it's socially kind of acceptable, or in that kind of stuff. And so, you know, when you do see the media and when you do come into these, you know, situations where you're like, toughen up, man up, you know, and then you do the whole, well, can you be emotional but also be tough at the same time too? And women have these same standards, you know, that men put on us, you know, can you be skinny but thick? Like,
right, exactly.
Like, so it's
hard.
the same
it's hard
thing.
Out there.
It's the same thing. And
it's hard.
I always encourage emotional intelligence. Like, how do you, I guess for us, when we talk to, you know, the men in our lives, whether it be family, friends, romantic partners, or anything, how do we, I guess, address emotional intelligence with them?
You know, fast forwarding to if you come in contact or get in a relationship or involved with a man who's older and has that kind of toxic trait, maybe just kind of like try to explain to them, you know, not in a preachy kind of way, like it's okay if you're emotional, it's okay if you're upset about something, it's okay to talk through your feelings, it's okay to, you know, have a bad day, just don't throw it back at me in a type of dominant way. And I feel like a lot of men take their bad day or take their emotions and channel them into some type of verbal violence or some type of like just aggression, you know, and they're taught, you got to be aggressive, you're a man, you got to make it in the world. And, you know, and it's a hard thing to unlearn. I will give a lot of people that, even for women, it's a hard thing to unlearn what you've been doing your whole life or what you've been taught or what you've watched. I feel like we as humans, we either go completely the opposite route of what our parents did, or we dive deep into what they did.
My dad is very protective, but he's very emotionally conscious. So he showed us crying growing up, watching. We used to make fun of him. Why are you crying this TV show again? Like he was a balance of both. Like he could cry, he could be protective of us because it's just the mix of both. And so I look for in my relationships now, I need to find someone, and I hate to say this, but like I've noticed the guys that I talk to or dated, and Heather can say this now, they remind me of my dad now because they're the same like emotional balance. Like they're protective, but they have like cute little like moments like, oh, he's sad. Like, and like you have to teach your kids. Like I don't have a kid yet, but my best friend has 3 sons. I almost said 2. I was like, oh, she's had 3. So, and she literally teaches her kids to be very, you know, tough, you know, as boys do, like playing football and all that stuff, but they're very emotionally aware of like watching Disney movies, like Little Mermaid, like, and that's fine. Like, and they sing the songs, like there's no like gender norms they have to confront, but like they're able to be still football, but they're able to like watch Aladdin and be okay and be happy and sing the songs. And like, you know, you want your kid to have both.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah,
in a relationship, you definitely want both. I know I look for both, and you know, maybe my standard. I've been told my standards are too high. Or you're asking for too much.
No.
Or it's just like I.
But do you want to settle? That's my thing.
Right.
Do you want to settle? No.
I find myself to be vastly unhappy in a relationship where I'm like, okay, well, I have the man, but I'm not happy with the way I'm treated, or I'm not happy with certain things that happen. Now, no relationship is ever going to be perfect, obviously, but there are deal breakers. And trying to dominate me in a conversation in a verbally violent way is an absolute deal breaker for me.
I start like, because I have 3 nephews and I'm friends with a whole bunch of guys, and you know, my best friend is a guy. And so what I always end up doing, because I find that they're never asked this question, you know, they'll talk to me about experience, positive or negative or whatever. And I always end up asking them, well, how do you feel about that? That question never is asked, whether it be good or bad. How do you feel about that? How does that make you feel?
Right.
Because then it's turned in on them. And and a lot of them are just like, oh, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Or it makes me feel this way. Or, you know, with my nephew, he, you know, went through, he's been riding rodeo. This is you know,
riding rodeo.
Riding rodeo. So
yeah,
he rides like he's a part of rodeo. I'm in the country, so he rides. He does rodeos.
Okay.
And so we you know 6 to 8 seconds on a horse that's like bucking.
Got it.
And so he rides, you know, saddle broncs, bareback broncs, meaning no saddle or anything. They just tie him on there.
I don't know the difference.
Anyways, so he was exactly right. So he was trying to, you know, give a pep talk to a friend who was scared. I mean, these kids are like 10 years old. They're being strapped to an animal.
Terrifying.
That's a little intense. So he's giving him a
no
pep
big deal.
talk, right? And the only way that he was able to do that is because we had a discussion, you know, a few months back during his last rodeo when he was that kid that was super scared and somebody else was giving him that pep talk. And I go, remember how that made you feel?
Yeah.
You know, how do you feel about this right now? Well, because the next time when you, like he ended up doing really well after that pep talk that he got. And I go, so when you run into somebody else, you know, who's scared, you know what to say to them now because you know how that felt.
Yeah.
And it would just like, it clicked. And so it's just
for that lesson probably for the rest of his life, you know. It's those small lessons that are ingrained when boys are young that, you know, they take those lessons with them. And even if they snap out of that lesson for a second, I feel like they always gravitate towards it, you know?
Yeah. So we already talked about our experiences. Let's go ahead and let's talk about how women can combat toxic masculinity, because you're going to run into it. It's going to happen.
Call it out.
So what do we do so that we are centered in ourselves, strong in ourselves, but also let people know this is not acceptable?
Call it out, not in a crazy aggressive yelling type of way. You know, why I find a lot of the time, sometimes it doesn't work, but if you say, why are you talking to me that way? Or why are you acting like this? You know, because you don't know why the person's acting like that 99.9% of the time. And they probably don't know why they're acting like that 90% of the time. And sometimes if you pose the question, they might go, or hopefully they'll go, wait, why am I acting like this? You know? And then if that doesn't work, you know, for me, I'm a big proponent of removing myself from the situation. And I know that's not always possible, you know, but in terms of like relationships or, you know, jobs, it's harder because people have to make money and you have to deal with things that you wouldn't necessarily deal with. But friendship-wise, romantic-wise, relationship-wise, as soon as you know that behavior is not going to really change, bye.
Like,
you have to preserve yourself and your energy and your emotions and your health. It's very unhealthy to be in energy like that.
I am way too old. I'm not old, but I'm old enough to know that I don't have time for people anymore. Like, I just don't. And like, I will call you, like, before I was like, oh, okay, let that person just talk to me the way they want. Right. But I realized, no, I'm gonna call you out if I feel uncomfortable about something.
What's our advice to men? Like, when maybe they don't know they're doing it when they're actually doing it. Maybe they haven't even taken a step back and realized, because like, here's my thing is, you know, a lot of dudes, it is just ingrained in them. Like we said, like they grew up doing the same thing over and over again. So what is our advice and tips that we can give to them to just be like, hey, take a step back?
I think that is the advice. Hey, like, take a moment, you know, in the moment, say, hey, let's take a moment here. You know, sometimes when sometimes you have to control the energy, not in the controlling way we're talking about, not in the toxic way.
Not that way.
Very peaceful, kind of nice way, control the energy and bring it back to a place where a dialogue can happen, allowing them to take a step back, not saying you need to take a step back, but I like that finger.
like the mom hand, like, don't you dare do that. Yes.
You know,
I love it.
Allowing them to take a step back, kind of on their own, maybe plant the seed, but allow them to hopefully, you know, take a bite of that seed. I don't know if that's the right terminology, and
I like it.
But wait a second,
like it.
I was acting like a complete fucking asshole. You know what I mean?
Yes. I think you have to confront the people, like, be like, you know, how do you feel about this? But let's also realize that's not cute.
Yeah.
That's not cute. Let's talk about it.
And also, one of you just said this, saying, I think Chauncey said it, saying, this makes me feel bad when you do this.
Yeah.
And if someone cares about you, that's going to be like oh gosh, you know, when you love someone and care about them, you don't want to hurt them.
Yeah.
You know?
And if they keep doing it,
then it's
on them.
Time to go.
Exactly.
Bye-bye.
I mean, how many times do you need to say, I don't like when you?
I agree.
And then if that behavior still continues, I mean, how many times do I have to say this?
Policy, like a 3 strikes, like 2 to 3 strikes I have. You know, the first time it happens, you know, you're not really sure. Like, second time, you're like, And then the third time, you're like, hold up, this is your personality, and it's not going to change.
Yes. So, you can love someone. You can love someone, like you said, 99%, but that 1% that's just toxic. You have to leave.
Yeah, and that 1% will wind up killing you.
So it does take time, and it's not going to happen overnight. It is definitely a journey, not necessarily a destination.
Yeah.
So I think that people definitely need to take that into consideration when they come across toxic traits. I think they also need to take into consideration, like, if it's a conversation, if it's a relationship, what is it that you want out of it?
Yeah.
Because if it is for a dialogue to happen and for each other to be understood, obviously effective communication needs to happen.
Right.
Whether you deal with it right then and there, or you both take the time to step back, cool off, and come back. All right. Well, that wraps up today's episode of the So She Slays show. Toxic masculinity traits, what you can do about it, how to, you know, combat it, and, you know, practice emotional intelligence. Thanks for joining us.
How to protect yourself.
Yes, how to protect yourself. Thank you, Taye, for joining us once again. We can't wait to have you back for the next episode. Talk about some real slay.
I don't know what it's going to be, but I feel like
we'll figure it out.
Topic.
Exactly.
It comes to us, but thank you guys. We're so excited to have you guys view it, and, you know, make sure you subscribe and all that great stuff. And Taye, once again, thank you for always slaying with us, and we love you.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.